Welcome back to Your Wise Self with Sara. So many women are dealing with bloating, anxiety, poor sleep, brain fog, skin issues, or that low level feeling that something just isn't quite right. This is about understanding what may be missing and how small, wise adjustments can create big shifts in how we feel. Today, we are joined by Kim Rogers, the owner of Rogers Hood Apothecary, for a powerful and grounding conversation about herbal remedies, women's health, and why seasonal cleansing can be a form of support that we never knew we needed. We'll explore what many women are never taught about parasites, heavy metals, candida, gut health, anxiety, and sleep, and how these can quietly exacerbate or mimic perimenopause symptoms. We'll also discuss working with the body, honoring natural rhythms, and the role of the full moon. We are joined also by Melissa Raffone, esthetician and fellow health coach. I had the good fortune of our paths aligning, and my life has been changed forever by this next layer of healing that I have learned from her. And it has everything to do with our guest today, Kim Rogers. Let's begin. Welcome, Kim. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Before the recording, I said, we're fangirling here. You have been on Oldish, Dr. Will Cole, Ancient Health podcast. And then you have your own podcast, What's Eating You. So we get to listen to you all the time. And we're so excited for my audience to meet you. For the audience who doesn't know you yet, what is your mission?
My mission is to teach people how to be their own advocate and take sovereignty over their own health is my number one goal and always has been because I come from Western medicine. I've been in it since 2004. I hold 2 healthcare degrees. I ran 25 healthcare colleges. I wrote academia. I did books. Like my life really was about the human body and medicine. And then on my personal side, I was also chronically ill. I had 13 surgeries and a hysterectomy when I was 29 years old due to endometriosis and adenomyosis. So I've been in it in a professional way. And then I've also been in Western medicine in a personal way. And then in 2019, I almost died. And I wasn't willing to accept what Western medicine doctors were saying was wrong with me. And so I became my own advocate and I started to research all of my symptoms that were unexplained and why they just kept wanting to do surgeries. And so my husband and I quit our lives, and I say literally quit. We sold everything. We had a piece of recreational property in Hoodsport, Washington, which is in the outskirts of a rainforest. And I had learned how to do CAD to build my own log home. And so I didn't want to leave my husband with a lot of debt and mortgage. And this was our way of being able to just like leave life, figure out what was wrong with me, and him have a life if something had happened to me. And so we really worked on over a year and a half of what could be wrong with me. My organs were shutting down. I was so sick and no one could help me. Blood work all came back normal most of the time. My MRIs and my surgeries would come back. And then by 2019, they were like, you can't have any more. Like, you're just causing more problems. And I'm like, well, I can't live like this. And they said, you're just going to have to. And I thought, that's not great. Like, I'm not sorry. That's not happening. And so I dug down deep and I started to really look at what it could be.
Yeah. How old were you at the time?
I was maybe 41, 42,
Okay.
just starting out like in my 40s. So
Mhm.
I'll be 48 this year.
Yeah, but very young to imagine having a life sentence, so to speak, that your health was this poor at this point. So then what happened? You had tried all the conventional approaches, and how did this shift into plant medicine and herbs and your story of finding Rogers Hood Apothecary?
Mushrooms, mushrooms, functional and fun, right? When my parents now watch my podcast, they're like, Kim, you need to make sure that you give them the correct mushrooms. And I'm like, well, it's all of them. It's all mushrooms. Like when
Sure.
you're digging down deep and you really do have this type of a health sentence. You have to go find a way to figure out within you. And I had a lot of things externally happening to me that were not normal for people, and I had no contact with my family, and I'm in the woods literally. And so I started looking at like what alternative medications could I take to get off of my big pharma meds. That was the first and foremost. I wanted off of my Klonopin that I had been on for 22 years. I was having really Parkinson's like symptoms, and I didn't want to get another label. And I worked in neurology for many years in when I was in the field. And so I know what all of this looks like, right? When your brain starts to fail and your nervous system starts to give out, and like the neurology part of my mind was like, I'm 40 something. I don't want to be diagnosed with Parkinson's. Like, I'm not ready for that yet. Well, I started researching that Klonopin can cause you to have Parkinson like symptoms as side effects. And so I'm like, I got to get off everything. I got to know who I am. I got to know what's going on with this body. I need to reconnect my soul with this temple of mine. And so we just decided to get me off of everything as slow as possible, not medical advice. I did it in a very untraditional way. And so I started growing mushrooms. I started growing psilocybin. I figured out how to make amanita, which is why we celebrate her so much, because you can only forage her. And she's very predominant in the Washington area where I was living. So we just started like, how can we do this with this? And like the human body responds when it comes from synthetics or from herbs. And
Mhm.
so I just started researching. And then 2020 happened, and I'm in the woods, and I wouldn't do the 2020 agenda. And so I really had a lot more opportunity to dig in, and things were a lot different. And so I really took advantage of that to like continue to heal me. And then in 21, I got off my big pharma meds and I really started to feel better, but I just wasn't there still. And I'm like, man, I've been doing this for a year and a half and I can't lose weight. My skin's still a wreck. And I still have this pain that would come when it was time for me to have endometrial surgery, right? Because I had severe endometriosis. And so I was scrolling on TikTok, and I scroll with a purpose. And I swear to gosh, social media can read your mind, specifically TikTok. So I
Yeah.
came across this gal's video, and she said she almost unalived herself over worms. And it just stopped me in my tracks. And I'm like, what is she talking about? I mean, I really did think I had worms a few years before. My doctors all gaslit me and was like, no, no, you have itchy butt over the full moon. You just aren't washing well. And I'm like, I'm washing fine. I bought a $30 tincture off of Amazon and I did it. And in 3 days, I saw roundworm flukes and pinworms in the toilet. And the pain that I had on my right side was gone. I've never had it again, and that was life changing. So I hopped on a video and I made a 60-second video that was like, I have been in Western medicine for over 18 years and I've never dewormed myself until now. And it just shook the world, I think, because 10.5 million people have watched that video. At one point, before Big T figured me out, I had 40 to 50 million people a month watching me. And I just have not stopped doing this and talking about this since. So, July of 21, my life changed, and I've done this every day so that other people can have this awareness.
It definitely has changed my life immensely. I've read your story many times, but I could listen to it over and over again because it's so inspirational to me. And I know that it does impact other people. And I don't have a similar story as to like how sick I wasn't as sick as you were, but I was ready to explode at one point from like hormonal digestive issues and things like that. And then I found a Rise coffee. So a little bit of mushrooms at first too,
Yeah.
like in that realm of mushrooms. And I felt how much that changed the way I felt. So like listening to your story is amazing. And ever since I did my first cleanse, all I wanted to do was shout it from the rooftop. I have a whole album of like probably 150 pictures of everything that has come out of me. And I've shared with Sara many, many times. It's
Yeah.
crazy what has come out of my body.
It's
Yeah.
crazy what's in our bodies.
Yes.
Like, it's
Yeah.
crazy because I was a valedictorian and I still didn't know this. Like, both my degrees, like, I'm really smart. And When I saw it, I'm like, how did I not know this? Wait, is
Right.
this why I had a hysterectomy? Was I completely lied to? So then I started digging, right? I started researching, and I love to research. And then I had the community coming in. So you get it. Like everyone that's listening to this, seriously, we have worms and we have mold and we have heavy metals and we have environmental toxins. And like, we've just not been told this. I felt at first, obviously, grieving because I'm like, how did I not know? I went through an unnecessary surgery and how did I not know this? And then I flipped the script and I was like, I'm pretty angry. Like, I'm pretty mad that my world of 20 years has just been rocked and shaken to the core of what I believed and what I served to my community. I served to my patients, my students. I mean, I taught thousands of students. I mean, it was crazy how much I didn't know. And so it's been really kind of a wild journey.
Any of your students reached out to you
Oh,
about
yeah.
it?
I have some of my doctors that said, you don't have worms doing the kit. Oh, yeah. At the beginning of this, I had some colleagues block me on all social platforms, including like LinkedIn. And so they were really mad at me because they know who I am. And then I started going really viral, and I had some go, oh, well, we'll try it. And then one gal had worms come out. And I remember her name is Beth. Specifically, she was the one that said, you don't have worms, Kim.
Mm.
Because I had this weird abnormal issue that they were going to do a biopsy, and she was the one that was going to do it. And she said, I need you to come back in 10 days. And I said, okay, no problem. What do you think it is? She's like, I don't know. I've never seen anything like this. And it was gone when I got back.
From the big picture, we know that other countries are doing these parasite
Mhm.
cleanses regularly in other cultures and other countries. So, talk us through that. Like, what is it that we're missing here in the US that we're not doing this?
We just think that it can't happen to us in a Western medicine country. We're a first world country. Our country's water is good, which it's not. It's
Mm.
not. I've tested it throughout the country. In fact, I just tested where I moved in Nevada, and they do not have parasites where I live right now in the water. But in Seattle and Hoodsport, they do. And so it does show like the range of the areas. So water is a huge place that you can catch parasites. Mexico knows that. Everyone knows don't drink Mexico's water. Well, I wouldn't drink our water ever, ever.
Yeah.
Because we really are in denial and we don't really look at it the same way. Like everyone knows Mexico's water's trash. And so they try and do things about it. We're not even trying in our country. So it's like just avoid it. Just avoid it completely, right? Get a filter.
Mhm.
It's like $200 and there's just ways that we can help that for ourselves, but other countries like Jamaica, because they do eat a lot of seafood and they know seafood has parasites in it. They're scent meat. I know that they have some meat around them, but it's an island, and so they do a tea called the bush, and so they do that monthly. And really, from what I've heard from a lot of people that are from Jamaica, they actually will be yelled at by their elders if they don't keep passing this down, because then everyone is susceptible to the parasites. So
Mm.
they're like, just nip it in the bud now so that you're not having the problems. Mexico, they use synthetics. They do herbs in Mexico as well, but you can go to the pharmacy for like $7 in Mexico and get an anti-parasitic. And they do recommend doing it twice a year in Mexico. Korea uses herbs, but it's usually herbs or synthetics. I mean, there's things out there like papaya seeds. I don't really recommend that one as much because it's not as regulated and you can create cyanide inside of your body. And so I always recommend doing something like the Parify kit because it's herbs and it can be kept in your body but doesn't create an overabundance so that it hurts you, right? And
Mhm.
so when I started looking into this more, I was just shocked of how many foods really are anti-parasitic, and the whole purpose of why we eat certain foods is because of parasites. And we just didn't gain this knowledge. I mean, really, even the Western medicine medical professionals did not gain this knowledge. And I even see a lot of things happening in the wellness community that I'm like, how are you guys missing this? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like it's so simple. And so I haven't called too many wellness people out because I'm in the wellness world, but like you should be cleaning your soil. Like, you need to get in there. Like, if they're not just in our gut. So you can do a gut test and have it come back completely negative because they're in our blood, our tissue, and our muscle. They're
Mm,
not just inside of our gut. Like, our gut is just a fraction of where they are, right? Because they
right.
can burrow deep. They lay eggs. You can do a
Mm.
live blood culture analysis, which is where they draw your blood and then they look it under a microscope. And from what I heard, about 100% of people, when they do that, have parasites, and you can see them swimming inside of your blood because they live in our cells.
Mm.
So really, it's like, at what point do we all just need to go, let's clean our soil 3, 4 times a year? Like, it's super simple. I made it very easy. I mean, I
Yes.
didn't want to overly complicate. You can tell I come from Western medicine. I mean, it's very structured. You get instructions, and I'm constantly like researching. So I know, oh, you need to add this into it. You don't have to, but this will make your cleanse better, like the lymph kit. I know people have a hard time with charcoal, which is a binder. And so I'm working on not having a charcoal binder so you can have both. You can pick which one. I mean, really, this is the way medicine should look for us now and in the future,
Right.
because we're always evolving. There's always something going on in our bodies that we need to know, oh, well, we need to conquer it with this, right?
That leads us to two more things that come from that, which we'll start to whittle down into some more finite details about the cleanse and the process of the cleanse. But two things that came up for me when you were talking was, first of all, the full moon. You were talking about a monthly cleanse or some kind of periodic cleanse, but it's kind of funny because actually I'm a yoga therapist, but I teach a lot of yoga classes. And so I will say to people in my classes, I'll say, okay, it's the full moon. If you're having extra sugar cravings, it's normal during the full moon. I had no idea it was parasites. I had
Yeah.
no idea. I would talk about this all the time. So tell us more about that.
Well, the full moon makes your serotonin go higher and your melatonin go lower. And those are, hormones that the parasites love. Serotonin, they feed off of it. It's your happy hormone. It's why when you have a parasite, you usually have some sort of mental health issue going on, because of the fact that it's pulling all of the resources that you desperately need to keep yourself happy and going. And so during the full moon, they're heightened and they start to remove themselves from places in your body and hop on the serotonin river to reclaim other parts of the body and laying eggs.
Mm.
They're literally like pulling themselves out. And so when you feel crazy, it's not you. And so we all know that people say, oh, the full moon is out, watch out for the crazies. And when I worked in the yard, that was very much true. And then I lived downtown Seattle for a couple of years, and it's very true. I would watch the people down on the streets because I lived in a skyscraper, and a full moon, it was nuts. And so there's no way to deny that, right? That we've always said that. And that is specifically because they've heightened themselves during the full moon. And so you want to try and do it during the full moon because you can attack more of them. That's why they say to do a parasite cleanse over the full moon. Now, I can never wait. If I'm feeling it, I just do it. Like, I'm about to do one. I think the full moon's the 3rd. I'm not waiting. I'm going after it because I feel like it's time. And
Mhm.
so it really is your decision on if you want to wait or if you want to do it. The French, actually, which they eat a lot of snails, which has schistomiacin in it. And so the French say you're supposed to start 3 days prior to the full moon because they start to dislodge themselves. And
Mm.
then that's when they hop on the serotonin highway and then they start laying their eggs. And so the French say to start 3 days prior to the full moon.
Yeah. Wow. And that is such an amazing thing. We obviously have learned this through you. And so I know that the people listening right now are probably just like, oh my gosh, is this for real right now? Is this really happening? And I think it goes even a layer deeper when you talk about mental health. And then we start to talk about hormones. Melissa alluded to this with her own journey and how the symptoms of perimenopause can also mimic what's happening with parasites. And so, how does that work with perimenopause and parasites, and what is going on in our bodies, and how can we differentiate between the two, or if one feeds on the other literally?
I believe they feed on each other. And I'm going through that as well. Even though I had hysterectomy when I was 29, I think now at 47, my body is starting to regulate itself and go into the correct age group. And so I know that over the last 2 years, I have done a few more cleanses than I did. So I've been doing this for 4 years, and I'm a regular cleanser. I don't just do the 30 days. I'll do longer stints. I do synthetics, and that's what I'm about to jump on, is a synthetic. And so I rotate everything, because when I start to feel yucky, I'm not just blaming it on the hormones. I'm blaming it on something that has hijacked my nervous system, as well as absorbed 6 to 8 times their weight in spores, heavy metals. They can take 90% of your nutrients, and that includes any pills you take, any IVs you get. Like, your body is not actually absorbing it. It's like going inside of a physical worm or physical something in a biofilm, and it's absorbing everything. And so really it can absorb it, and you're never going to get any of it. And so it's almost like a waste at times. And that's why I said, what the wellness community, I feel like this is a miss. We're like pushing all of these peptides, we're pushing all of these supplements. However, if you're not even absorbing those, then you are wasting your money. I mean, in all honesty, since doing cleanses, I absorb everything now. I feel like when I take anything, I'm so sensitive now to it, where before I'm like, I just took this med and I'm not feeling it at all. Well, yeah, because literally the frequency of the medication is being absorbed into the frequency of the biofilm that's full of worms and mold and heavy metals. And so it's feeding them, not me. And so I realized that that's the same with hormones. The only thing that I noticed, really the difference, is I do topical stuff, and topical stuff I normally can feel like my estrogen is topical. But before, I couldn't do it in any other form, because of the fact that I would never feel it. Well, now I know I would never feel it, because I was full of worms.
When I was on the Parafide kit for the first time, I didn't really take my supplements at all. And actually, I'm a diagnosed ADHD, and I attribute being able to go off of Adderall because of this kit and being able to help me just regulate my system. It's been part of, again, that layer of healing that I feel so fortunate to have met Melissa. And it was the right time for me, because I kept hearing about it. It was one of those things where it was like a whisper, and then all of a sudden it was right in front of me. She and I met, and I was getting ready to interview her for a podcast. And at the end of the conversation, I said, "Is there anything else that we should talk about on the podcast?" And she goes, "Well, I don't really talk about it very often, but I'm really into parasite cleansing." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, tell me now. All of it. Start over. We got to start this whole conversation over." Melissa, is there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I try to like shout it from the rooftops, but I get a little bit of like pushback, and I don't want to freak people out. So
Yeah.
I kind of tread a little bit lightly. I mean, I'm in Connecticut, so we're like last to get everything in the Northeast. So I tread lightly. But I dealt with IBS my whole life. I was a teeth grinder. I was a drooler. I had digestive issues since middle school. So when I got into my 40s, I was like turning 40, and I literally felt a shift in my body, and I tried like all the green juices and the supplements and the probiotics and this and that. And then I had a appointment with my gynecologist, and I told her what I was going through and what I was feeling, and she wanted to put me on Prozac for 2 weeks. And I said, "That's not really the direction I want to go in."
Yeah.
So I kind of left the office very sad, disappointed that that she wouldn't test my hormones for me, and she just kind of brushed me under the rug a little bit.
Mhm.
And then I did a hair sample test because I wanted to see what was going on in my body, and it came back high in candida. And that's what really set me on my path. And then kept seeing girls on Instagram doing these parasitic parabite cleanse and then this other 10-day cleanse. And I started to do a lot of research. And at that point, I was doing a 30-day gut cleanse with another company, which was working really well for me. But I knew that I needed to dig deeper than that. And then I saw you on Instagram and Facebook, and I went to your website, and then I said, "This is for me. I know it is." I remember the first time I did a coffee enema,
Mm.
what came out of
It's crazy.
it was crazy. It had to be like 30 liver flukes in the toilet.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't think to take a picture of it at that point, but then, like, later that day, I went again and I saw something else, but it was, like, little red things in, like, mucus or biofilm, I didn't know, and I instant messaged you on Instagram, and you messaged me back. I was shocked, and I was like, "She is the real deal. I can't wait to see how I'm feeling." And then I had things come out of me, and I would show people, only a few of my friends, and they could not believe it.
It's
They just couldn't believe it.
yeah.
And now I know, like, my whole life, this is why I was
Yep.
dealing with how I was feeling. And my hormonal issues, my hormones are feeling really good now. My gut is healing. And I've done the Purified kit like 30 days, took a break, 30 days, 3 times so far. I've been doing this for 2.5 years. And this is my first time doing the mold kit. And can I tell you, I think we're almost done, right, Sarah?
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel amazing. And then I was listening to What's Eating You, your the last one, and you were talking about lymph and holy skull, the mushrooms in it, and I've always taken sustain, like even like here and there, like in between my cleanses. But I added the last 2 weeks the lymph and the holy skull to the mold, and I feel so good.
It's so good, right?
It's so
It's
good.
so good. It's like, who knew mushrooms could be so amazing? I mean, I do contribute a lot of those to the mushrooms. Lion's mane, people just
Mhm.
don't even understand how great lion's mane really is. It protected my brain. When I was getting off of my Klonopin after 22 years, I went through a mini stroke, but I would have had a full stroke if I had not been on lion's mane, amanita, and turkey tail. And so that's within the lymph. Is turkey tail is in the lymph tincture and lion's mane is in the holy skull. And so turkey tail helps boost your immune system, break down scar tissue. We all have some scar tissue, especially if you have parasites,
Yeah.
right? Because all those flukes, all those things went in and out of your liver, went in and out of your tissue, creating adhesions inside. And so you got to find a way to heal all of that. And so your body does that by creating scar tissue, and then that stops the nerves from continuing, right? So, oh my gosh, that's so great, Melissa. You like I'm almost teared up 3 times now. I'm like holding back because it's crazy to think, and everything I do is on a screen. So it's like when I do stop and think about it, it is such a crazy journey of what has happened.
You're literally changing people's lives. I believe in it so much because it helped me so much, and I know it's helped people that I've told about that actually went through and did it.
Mhm.
But again, like, I feel like it takes a little while for people to
Yep.
get from point A to point B and come to grips with like, "Oh my god,
We were lied
I have
to.
that?"
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Like,
Yeah.
mean,
yes.
like you
Yep.
gotta wrap your brain around that, we were told, especially around mold too, because I have mold. I have 11 active molds in my body. My mom actually has a mold disease, sarcoidosis, and I was born into mold. And so I now know a lot of my lineage because of this, and you can pass mold down to your child. But I was living in mold while all this was going on. So when I was building my log home and I went viral about a year into this whole thing, I had just started Rogers Hood and I was living in our travel trailer still while building the log home and doing Rogers Hood and had gone viral and making videos, and my eyes swelled shut. I took a small break from the Parify cleanse, and I found out wormwood will suppress the mold spores from continuing to grow in your body. So a lot of people that do a parasite cleanse that are living in mold that don't know they're in mold, once they stop a parasite cleanse that has wormwood in it, they'll actually have a really strong reaction after. And that's because you've removed its best friend. Worms and mold, they hang out together. They're besties. Now you've just removed its best friend, and now the mold's like, oh, I can flourish in your body now, and literally can colonize in your body just like on a wall. So I'm living in black toxic mold, not even knowing it. Literally, like my hair's falling out, my eyes are swelling shut. I mean, I'm in a bad state, and I'm on camera because I'm a year into this. And so that's what made me create the mold kit. I got my labs done. I found out I had Aspergillus niger poisoning. I should have been in the hospital. I know it's because I took the Parafy kit that I suppressed the mold spores from continuing to grow in my body. And so that kit in general, the Moldies kit, hair, skin, nails, the immune system. And then when you pair what's in the mullein with turkey tail, like your immune system is flourishing, which means your nervous system is calm, which means your lymphatic system is flowing. And so really when you get all of those synergistic herbs together, like in the Moldies kit, it's great. Like I love Immune and Recover. I take it specifically when I'm really struggling or I've traveled a lot. I put shiitake mushrooms in Recover. And if you've ever researched history of shiitake, they help with radiation. So they're a heavy metal detox herb. And so they're just a great mushroom to have in your life. But I'm glad you guys did Moldies. I have not talked to a lot of people that have done the Moldies kit.
Yeah. Melissa's always inspiring me. I did the Purify kit. You were on your second round, I think, of the 30 days.
Yep.
And then we did lymph together, and then we've done mold together. So we're just like, hey, what are we doing this month? Okay. What's the next thing?
Good. That's so good. You can take lymph like the rest of your life. You can take the lymph kit, lymph and holy skull, and sustain is my go-to. Sustain is my favorite tincture of, I mean, I guess if you have to choose a kid or something like
Favorite child.
yeah, sustain is mine. And it's because Oregon grapefruit is such a mild antiparasitic, but it's also an anti-inflammatory. And then you bring in usnea, which usnea is such an amazing Mother Nature's doxycycline. It helps curb your appetite. And so that's one big reason why a lot of people take our kit and they lose weight is because it helps you not have the cravings. And as you guys all know, that when you're deworming, you actually will crave crazy things. And so that was one of my first, like, what can I do while I'm creating a kit for general population? I'm sitting here eating hamburgers and ice cream and I don't eat like that. And it's because that's what they wanted to give them energy, not me. And so usnea helps with that. And when you add it to Oregon grapefruit, it's almost like Mother Nature's Ozempic because it just helps calm it down, shut out the excess inflammation, and then peppermint helps calm down small intestinal parasites. And that's what really is a big thing for me. I know it's time to cleanse when I start to feel bad about myself. And that comes from your small intestine. That emotion, that's where that emotion comes from. So when you have SIBO or you have small intestinal parasites, the feeling of unworthiness is huge for us. And so that affects your mental health, and they've hijacked our nervous system. And so, really being able to kind of control that and move that out is the whole point.
That's so incredible. So empowering for people to have this information. And to Melissa's point of us being able to have this on the podcast today is just so exciting for us to be able to share this with our audience. So let's touch on a little bit on heavy metals and candida, because you have touched on it a little bit. We've talked about exposure through environment like water. We know that there's products, microplastics, old dental work, foods that can interfere with hormones and the thyroid and the nervous system, to your point of like this unworthiness and maybe feeling like something's off.
Yeah.
Kind of feeling. And so that would be with heavy metals. And then with candida, it's the sugar cravings that can also exacerbate brain fog, skin issues, mood swings.
I mean, that's definitely been hijacking your body for sure. And I was going to touch on when you said you're in Connecticut and that you guys have a harder time explaining these things. Everyone has heavy metals and everyone has candida. And so I think when people hear the word parasite, it freaks them out. But if you're like, I mean, we all have been exposed to heavy metals. Oh, yeah. Oh, we'll try this kit, right? You're just alluding to the real truth of it's parasite cleanse.
I'm in Iowa, and I've actually had people say to me, "Well, don't you want to have some parasites in your body?" And I was like, well, I think that you're thinking of your microbiome, like having some kind of like healthy bacteria. But how would you answer that?
Good question. Yes.
Good question. It's been a minute since I've been asked that question. Some people believe you should have parasites, and specifically because they absorb heavy metals. And so that's why they believe that you should have parasites in your bodies, because it helps your body get protected from heavy metals that are in the air and that you're eating. Unfortunately, though, if you just eat a bunch of cilantro, which is what's in Metal Flush, because we're also a heavy metal detox cleanse, you're going to just lighten the load that's inside of the parasites. And you got to come in and attack those parasites, or they're just going to feel afraid and start laying eggs. And then you're just going to have an overabundance. So a lot of people believe that that's what you need to do because of the absorption of the heavy metals. But if you go in and you systematically attack candida, which is a parasite, a definition of a parasite is anything that feeds off the host. And candida is a parasite. It controls your mind, tells you to eat the sugar. Mine really tells me to eat salt. My parasites are not sugar lovers. They're salt lovers. I can eat bags and bags of chips and not good. And so I'm like, oh, it's time for me to cleanse that too. But so if you bring that up to people that way, and that's kind of how I've brought it up to people so that it's not so shocking when they find out what I do. I'm like, oh, well, I mean, you have candida, right? It's an overgrowth of yeast. Yeah. I'm like, well, that's a parasite. And then they're like, oh my gosh. And it helps their mind break it down better. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
like they're thinking they're going to see worms and stuff, which they will, but that's why they believe because the biofilm that's around environmental toxins should be broken down and whatever's inside that biofilm needs to be removed. And so when people believe that you should have something, it's not always for everyone either. And some people live harmoniously with their worms. I was not one of them. They really caused me a lot of health issues.
Yes.
Like you said, sometimes people live harmoniously, but then when you get to be like 60, 70, 80, and you're seeing like dementia,
Yeah.
cancer, Parkinson's disease, like all these things come up. Well, maybe if we did this
Yeah.
when we were younger, I'm hoping because I'm doing this, I won't see any of that as I get older. And when I'm 80, I'm still going to be going to the gym and playing with my grandkids. I say this is why I'm doing this now because I don't want to be sick
Yeah.
later on
Yep.
in life.
And I do know from my own family, which I do blame a lot of my illness with no contact with my family because it changed my personality. I have chronic end stages of Lyme. I have mold. I have parasites, and I'm not the same person I was 4 years ago. And so 2 years ago, I decided to just show up at my parents' house and be like, this is enough. Like, it's time for us to reconnect. Like, we got to move past this. And so when I saw my mom again, she was on blood thinners and oxygen. And today she's actually getting an iron infusion at my house. And so I put her on the Parafy kit and I started working with her in a very herbal way because she's very Western medicine. My mom is no longer on blood thinners and my mom is no longer on oxygen. And we're working on her iron deficiency, which was a huge cause of everything, and she's 73. And
Mm.
so really it just shows the power of the herbs. And she was on 20 different medications. She's on 4 now. And so we are working with my personal doctor, Dr. Giles. And so we're not just doing this on our own, but it does show you how powerful the herbs are and what you said of you don't want this to be something down the road with your mind. That's what's going to happen to a lot of us if we don't go in and clean it out. There is a misfiring. Our brains are misfiring because they don't have all of the way to generate. It's like a car. You get water in your gas tank. That's what's happening to us. We're not getting all of our nutrients absorbing back into our body. We're not eating the cleanest we can eat. We're not flushing our systems out. We're not cleaning our soil. So our bodies are struggling. They really just don't know what to do. Like I started adding more copper into my life. My hair quit graying. And I mean, when I say I was sick, like I was dying and my husband and I knew it. We 100% knew I wasn't going to make it through the year. My organs were shutting down because I had cryptosporidium parvium. We were being pelted with worm water. We were living in mold. I had chronic Lyme misdiagnosed for 30 years. Should have never had a hysterectomy. It was unnecessary. And so you think about all of those steps of okay, well, I just slowly started changing things out in life, and now I do know that later in life, I'm not going to be sick like I was headed. What kind of
Mhm.
quality of life is that?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're like a miracle. You're like literally a miracle. You
I
are.
mean, I just did a lot of mushrooms in the woods, like, every day for a year, and I just had a lot of downloads, and I just listened. I just really stopped and listened to what was being told to me, and this is what it was, and I've always been a really loud person. I love teaching, and so I was just handed a gift, and I'm just running with the gift.
Amazing. And we're so grateful for it.
Thank
And I
you.
think just a couple of things as we're starting to
Yeah.
wrap up here. Melissa and I, as we mentioned, we're going to be doing a group cleanse. And I think a couple of things that I want to touch on in relation to that is, first of all, symptoms, because people who are having symptoms, and you've alluded to some, when we've talked about anxiety and poor sleep, and maybe people are having some weight fluctuations, mood swings, brain fog, feelings of unworthiness in this whole mental health capacity. So, are there any particular symptoms that you would say to people, these are maybe strange symptoms, or the symptoms that maybe you wouldn't think about in relation to a parasite cleanse?
Insomnia, grinding the teeth. Well, insomnia because they're nocturnal creatures, so they wake up around 7. So if you're eating snacky at night and sugar at night and you're craving crazy things, then you have a parasite because it's not you, your physical being doing that. It's something frequency-wise inside of you saying, I need to eat this. And so they're nocturnal creatures. They wake up around 7, so they want to be fed. They want to live their best life from 7 until the next morning. And then when they're tired and they're ready to go to bed, then you're wide awake, right? Because it's daytime. So usually, like, I was an insomniac. I went to school at night. That's when I got my 2 degrees. I worked during the day and then I went to school at night. So the worms helped me get through school. But the moment I was ready to sleep at night, they wouldn't let me. And I'm like, it's time. Like, now I sleep through the night. I go to bed at a reasonable hour. I sleep 8 to 9 hours and then I'm good. And so that's really the way that you should think about your sleep as well. Sleep hygiene is really important. Grinding the teeth is a huge one. I know that sounds crazy because everyone thinks it's just stress, but they've hijacked your nervous system and absorbing magnesium and calcium, which is what your body needs to make it stop from the nervous system crashing. And so they cause that. It's a big issue. Weight gain and unable to lose weight. I know people think that they have a tapeworm and that's going to be great for them, but in reality, it actually will keep you from losing weight because they're absorbing the nutrients that your metabolism needs. Drinking.
That's
Yeah,
what I was going to
bloating
say,
after drinking
bloating.
water.
After you
Yeah.
eat, you said bloating, and then any kind of like IBS, digestive issues. I know you've said that too.
My bloating we'd always blame that on the endo, right? Oh, I have endo belly right
Or
away.
hormones, right? Oh my,
Immediately.
yeah.
Immediately. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, it's just endo belly." No. Now I know everything that's been in my body, and I've had some things come out. Last year, I had a really long worm come out, and I just was shook. I have pictures of it. I had to send Oh my god, I was on a trip, and I just gotten a crazy colonic. It was the best colonic I've ever had, and some things came out of me, and I'm like, "Listen, like, this thing has got to be at least 20 years old." I mean, it was crazy. I picture. I haven't shown anyone, but
Well,
except
I
for my
want to see.
doctor. Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
Melissa,
I I
Melissa's
I'm gonna
like,
do a whole
sign me
series. I'll
up.
tag you, Melissa.
Yeah, show me. I want to see. I had one day when I did it. It was on my first one and my second 30 day. And I had some coming out of me. I went for a walk with my friend, and as I was walking, I was like, I can't I can't believe that has been in my body." And I showed her and she was like, "Holy." Mm, it
Right?
it was insane. And every
Mhm.
time I do it, more and more comes out. And that same friend is like, "Why is it still coming out?" I was like, "I've been dealing with digestive issues for years and years and years. Like, I would eat raw clams when I was 2 years old. Like, God knows what was in my body."
Right.
Oh my
And then
god.
I heard you say, and Sam, when you were talking, because she even said the same thing. Me and Sam kind of been on the journey for the same amount of time. And she said, like, things are still coming out of my body.
Yeah.
And she asked you, is this normal? And you said, yeah, because the tinctures actually stay in your body, in your bloodstream, and they're still working.
Mhm.
So if you're taking care and you're making it an inhospitable environment, they're going to just keep coming out.
Yeah. if we needed to stop, then other countries would just do it as a one and done as well, right? Other countries know that they need to cleanse every year, a few times a year, synthetics or herbs. So it's never going to be a one and done. We're constantly exposed to environmental toxins.
Yeah.
And that they know, that's the thing. They know. I know they know. I found some documents saying that Western medicine knows, that the government knows. Like, I know they know, and they know that we know now. I mean, it's just at the point where you just need, again, advocacy, sovereignty.
Mm.
Know that this is your body. You need to reconnect your body and your soul together. And these things hijack that, causing a stop. And then it slows you down, right? You mentally are not all there anymore because of something that's hijacked you, and they don't care. They don't want us to be as smart as we can be because it's dangerous. I mean, they lost
Yeah.
money on me for sure.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have 13 surgeries, that was millions of
Wow.
dollars. So
Yeah. It's incredible. The thing that I want to end on, that I really want to emphasize for people listening, is really how simple this process is of cleansing. And Melissa and I are health coaches. And so I want to make sure that people understand the importance of the nutrition part and the lymphatic support part of this. And so that's what we're going to guide people through. And as health coaches, that's what we really want to make sure that people are prepared, because you can have some die-off symptoms that are great. And so really helping support your body through that process. Was there anything else that you would say about that?
Just make it part of your day, you make it part of your routine, you make it so you know that you're doing something good for your body and good for your future, and it is really simple once you get into a groove. And then when you really look at the ingredients and you see what every thoughtful herb does for your body, I'm excited to get up and take it. Like, I literally look forward to my tinctures every day. I don't dread at all. And I'd rather a tincture than a pill. So
yeah,
thank you for that, because
Yes.
everything's a pill,
yeah,
everything's a capsule. You gotta swallow it. And you could just leisurely drink it. You did
Yeah.
amazing work. You're doing
thank
You
amazing
did.
work.
You
Really.
Oh,
did.
thank you so
Yes.
much.
Mhm.
Yes, we want to thank you so much for coming on today and for educating our audience and helping us also expand our shouting from the rooftops here. So thank you so much for being here today, Kim. We're so grateful to Kim Rogers of Rogers Hood Apothecary for joining us today to share with us the wisdom of being able to cleanse your body of parasites, heavy metals, candida, mold, and much more. We do want to emphasize that this is not for everyone. Please make sure that you check out the Rogers Hood Apothecary website for contraindications for medications or anything that might not serve you in this cleanse. Also, as we close, I want to leave you with this reminder: you are not failing at your health. We simply do not know what we don't know. And we need support for our bodies that are already working hard in this demanding world. Sometimes that support looks like slowing down, better nourishment, and healing movement. And sometimes it looks like gentle detoxing a few times a year to help clear what the body's holding on to. I hope today's conversation helped you feel informed and empowered to listen to your body with more curiosity and compassion. If you'd like to learn more about Kim's work, herbal remedies, and educational resources, you can find her at Rogers Hood Apothecary. I'll make sure to include the links in the show notes. Remember that Melissa and I will be leading a group cleanse starting at the end of March, but we're hosting a Q&A session on March 11th at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I will also link that in the show notes to join us in the group detox starting on March 30th. If this episode speaks to you, please share it with a friend and reach out to us to start this group protocol. You are not alone. Thank you for being here, for doing the work, and for honoring your wise self. Don't forget to give this show a 5-star rating so that more people can find this podcast. Until next time.